gentlemen, to the second part of my walkthrough on Glass Cannon. And this segment, we're going to open up the door here, just beat Udex, Idex, however you say his name, Gundyr, leading up to Fire on Shrine. We'll attempt to show you the jump off the tree to the roof so that you can get early access to that extra Estus shard and the covetous Silver Serpent ring. You guys will see is these 7,000 souls are spent points into dexterity and strength. The reason behind that is that I find that every character, regardless of class, whatever build you go with, should be able to use a bow. There's just too many fights in the game that are easy to cheese with a bow. There's too many items that are much easier to get with a bow. For example, I'll show you guys in a later guide. Flamestone plate. Typically, I have to go from the Undead Settlement where it's at. You typically have to go and take a really long path around to get the item once you've dropped it from its perch in the tree. But there's actually, with a bow, if you hit the rope just right, there's a way to get the item without having to travel all over the map, which is rather nice. And I do not have an Ashen Estus flask, so I'm not going to be able to, with the amount of FP I have left right now, take out the master up there. So we'll go ahead and take a little tour of Firelink Shrine, and we'll come back to him once we've finished that. So this is the shrine, and right here we have Hawkwood the Deserter.
Ah, another one roused from the sleep of death. Well, you're not alone. We unkindled are worthless. Can't even die right. Gives me conniptions. And they'd have us seek the Lords of Cinder and return them to their moulding thrones. But we're talking true legends, with the metal to link the fire. We're not fit to lick their boots. Don't you think?
Sorry to say, sir, but this is Dark Souls. You don't have the right to pity yourself. And if I felt that it was possible at the moment, I would put you out of your misery. But you'll give us a useful item later on. And
Welcome to the bonfire,
I don't think I'm strong enough to do that quite yet.
I'm a firekeeper. I tend to the flame, and tend to thee. The lords have left their thrones, and must be delivered to them. To this end I am at thy side.
Are these the thrones you speak of?
Very well.
So we're going to go and level
Then
up,
touch the dark
and what I'm going to shoot for is 14 points into dex, which is enough to use a longbow that you find there on the high wall, and 11 strength, which also gives me enough to wield the kite shield that's there, the silver eagle kite shield I believe it's called, and the broadsword, which is a fairly good weapon. And it looks like we have enough to do that and then some. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and start putting a few points into intelligence, just for the extra damage on our spells. You can get the Farron Dart spell from the Shrine Handmaid, who we'll visit here in just a moment. It's useful for pulling enemies if you don't want to use something like an arrow. You'd rather use the 3 FP to cast that. It is also a relatively useful combat spell just for interrupting people's actions, such as drinking from an Estus flask or casting a spell.
Apply a weapon, I've lot, and yes,
But
as is thy want.
it's not something that I'm going to be putting points into attunement right now just to get that particular spell. So I am, however, going to go ahead and buy some wood arrows here. That makes using the longbow that we'll get relatively early possible. Here's Andre.
Well, I am Andre. I serve at this shrine as a humble smith, forging weapons. You're in search of the Lords of Cinder, I trust. A toilsome journey, I'd wager. You'll require good arms. Let me smith you weapons. I am a smith. Such is my purpose.
Alright. There's nothing that we can really do right now. We do have 1 Titanite shard, but it will take at least 2 Titanite shards to level up a weapon even once. Now, the coiled sword that you got from Udex, Gundyr, I guess we'll just call him that, can be placed here, and it does warm the part Go ahead and place that to one of the flasks. Now from here, if you take this path up, just past Hawkwood, you'll come out just behind the main throne, and come down the opposite side. There are a few little shortcuts to NPCs that you'll unlock later. For right now, we just want to go ahead and take the opposite path up, which is where we came in from. And then if you look right here, there's other paths leading up. The path to the left as you go out will take you up to where we want to be. And this little exit here takes you out to the seed, to the tree of the giant. Now here, you can find the seed of a giant tree. The way these work is each time you're invaded, there's a 10% chance for the seed of a giant tree to be dropped. These seeds, once used, will cause the AI opponents, you know, your normal enemies, to attack the invaders. So it's incredibly useful if you do find yourself in a PvP situation and people are hiding around enemies trying to bait you into them. You can just pop on those seeds and then the enemies start tearing them to shreds. Kind of puts you on equal footing with them. Now there's a 10% chance for one to drop each time you're invaded. That stacks up to a maximum chance of 50%. So if you're invaded, you know, 5 times and one doesn't drop, it'll go up to 50%. Once one does drop, you'll have to come back here and examine it, and there'll be a seed that you can pick up like a normal item. You can't see it though, so you do have to check. And once one drops, it resets the chance back down to 10% for being invaded again. So our equipment weight's at 30%. You do get full mobility at 25%. So we're just going to strip off a couple pieces of gear here, and then we're going to try and make the jump up there onto the roof. You do that. I'm not very good at it, so I'm just going to give this a few attempts, and if not, we'll come back at a later time. If you come over here, just towards the edge of this ledge, I find it to be the easiest way, more from this angle. And you'll notice that you're getting close to getting it when your character kind of floats in the air for a second before landing. And you're aiming for the low spot, not for the white spot up there. Yeah, so like that, I was pretty close. Oh, I wasn't up on the tree far enough. Overcompensated. We're gonna give this just a couple more attempts. Like I said, guys, I'm absolutely horrible at this. I've only actually been able to do it twice. It does give you access to, I believe the crow in this installment of the games is called Pickle Pea instead of Snuggly, but it gives you access to them so you can trade items, and it does give you access to the covetous silver serpent ring and the Estus shard that's up here. Oh, no, so close. Alright, we'll give this... Oh. Really, sometimes I think this comes down to just straight luck, whether the game wants you to have it or not. Apparently I haven't prayed to the RN Jesus lately. Okay, that's all we're gonna fool with it for. But we'll come back later and give it a shot again. And there are lots of videos out there on how to do it precisely, and I never really spent any time doing it. You can also get to that without having to run up and jump from the tree. You just have to spend 20,000 souls with a shrine handmaid. She'll give you the key to the tower behind Firelink Shrine. You can also get a few other items in there. The Soul of the Firekeeper, the black set, which is like the Firekeeper's clothing. I'm going to make a pretty short, sweet run through this to get to the tower on the wall and get the longbow and the other items between the starting area and that, after which we will come back to Firelink Shrine and take down the Master. As a mage, it's a pretty simple fight. He has a legion point that you can abuse. He does not go past a certain point, at least at this version. And because of that, you can pull him to that point and then stand back and fire soul arrows at him. And he's basically free. Again, I may mispronounce this. Leech Katana. You get the Master's Robe, the Master's Cuffs, and 2,000 souls. So as a mage, the dogs in this game are the bane of your existence. They're quick, they're agile, and hitting with spells a complete bitch. Just one thing to note, you do get two different spells. The heavy soul arrow does have a longer casting time, does do considerably more damage. The opposite is true for the regular soul arrow. However, the FP cost of them is slightly different. I believe the normal soul arrow is 7 FP per cast, and the heavy soul arrow is 11. So there's a difference of 4 per cast there. The reason why I bring it up is because you not only have to look at the casting time for the spell, but also, like right now, hitting this man with normal soul arrow is probably enough to kill him, assuming he dies. It is never cheaper, FP-wise, to fire 2 soul arrows against an enemy when you could kill them with 1 heavy if you can find the window to do it. There are times where you just need the faster casting speed to get the attack off, period. For those of you who look for that man right there, furthest away, closest to the little statue, will stand up and transform. They're extremely weak to fire once they transform. I just some of them. They do have a pretty decent drop rate on Titanite shards as well as embers if you let them transform, and there are plenty of fire bombs around here that you can pick up to hit them with. Once they're lit on fire, they just kind of wail about for a few seconds. Gives you a pretty good window to go up and melee them. So we did go ahead and get the bow guy. Here. You can kill all these little guys that are bowed down if you want. They're worth a few souls apiece. I honestly don't think it's really worth the time. Or even these here with lanterns, when they see you, you'll hear them scream. Once they scream, each enemy that is prepared to attack you will stand up and proceed to do so. So like these 3 guys right here, I can walk around them, and as long as I don't take a hostile action against them, they won't stand up and do anything. If she had seen me and screamed, all 3 of them would have stood up, as well as the 2 guys up here would have come down and here's your binoculars. As a sorcerer, they can be incredibly useful, letting you free cast spells at a longer range while just kind of using the binoculars to aim. Another little item just down here. If you come around the backside of the dragon and look down, there's a little path you can drop onto. And from it, you'll walk through this little window, pick up the gold primers and all the orbs. Trigger it from here, but typically once the dragon is actually spawned up there, and you'll see that here in a second, if you come right here to this window and you stand right here, it's just close enough for the dragon to see you, and he begins to breathe fire on all these enemies that you see through this gate. There's quite a few of them there, and it'll net you a few hundred souls each time you do it. So if you're interested in just having the dragon farm souls for you, you can come clear this little easy path out. Have him do that. I don't find it to be totally necessary this early in the game. Come up here, you trigger the dragon. It does also leave fire on the ground. You walk through it and take it. These are amazing. I honestly think this fight is supposed to stick around this way. You need to be careful how far you go up. You need to go far enough up that the dragon sees you before attacking them, but not so far enough that and if you stand right here on the very front of the platform, right here, you get full damage. Whereas if you stand back on the platform even just a little bit, your damage goes down. This does take just a minute. Once we get to the bonfire, there's a tower on the wall. Down about 3/4 of the way, just over 3/4 of the way, he flies off. That and access to all the items up there for the guys to quite good. Arrows, and a couple of those were misses, and one of them was not at full damage. Getting the dragon to fly off here does give you the option to come up here and pick up the items. You do get the club. That was a specific drop. He dropped his iron round. It's not normally here. Dark Souls decided to give me that. The rest of these items are standard. So coming through here, this little area, it works out as a nice little shortcut, I guess you could say. That is a mimic. If killed, does drop you the deep battle axe. Causes dark damage. So if you're going for a build where you're not trying to put too many points into strength or dex early on, it can be useful to go for the mimic. Next episode we'll come back and I'll kill it for you guys just to show you. We'll kind of do it the cheesy way. If you stand up here on this platform, you can shoot it. It does like to come here under the platform underneath you, at which point what you do is you smash all this stuff beforehand. And you just jump over to the other platform and start shooting it while it's under this one. He will see you and run around up the stairs, but by the time he starts running at you across the stairs, you just stop firing at him and jump back over here, and then you can hit him on his entire way back. It does take a little bit of time. The mimics have quite a bit of health, and you're not going to get a whole lot of consecutive shots off on them, but can be done, and if the item is something that you need or want, it's a relatively easy way to get it. Alright, let that man go down the stairs. There are two enemies right here, one here and one there. They do stand up if you get too close to them. I'm just going to run right past. Go ahead and pick up this small soul. Doesn't look like either of them aggroed, which is good. Just have to deal with this assassin here. Thank you for the throwing knives. Throwing knives are also a good item if you don't happen to want to use the Farron Dart skill. You can use throwing knives and other such items to interrupt spell flask consumption. We'll go ahead and rest right here real quick, and thank you guys again for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the thumbs up. And if you didn't, go ahead and leave me some comments about what I can do better and hit the thumbs down button. We'll see you again here real soon.